Russia has shifted its economy to a war footing. NATO member states must increase arms production to keep up with Moscow. U.S. President Joe Biden has said,
I'm very pleased that today all NATO members are making the pledge to expand our industrial base and our industrial capacity, like our defense spending commitment. This is a critical step to maintaining our security. The first time ever, every NATO nation is pledging to develop plans for defense production at home. That means, as an alliance, we'll become more innovative and competitive. And we're able to produce more critical defense equipment.
Biden stressed that Beijing, Tehran, and Pyongyang are actively assisting Moscow in militarization. NATO is convinced that Russia is seeking to fundamentally change the Euro-Atlantic security architecture. The Russian army's full-scale invasion of Ukraine and hybrid attacks on alliance countries are proof of this. The overall threat that Russia poses to NATO will remain in the long term, the Washington summit declaration said.
Russia remains the most significant and direct threat to allies' security. Terrorism in all its forms and manifestations is the most direct asymmetric threat to the security of our citizens and to international peace and prosperity. The threats we face are global and interconnected. From the NATO Washington summit declaration, Russia is trying to undermine the unity of forces in the alliance and trying to create conditions to create problems within the bloc and to disunite the positions of the countries. Yet we see that by anonymous decisions, new possibilities, statutes and models of NATO's behavior towards Russia and, of course, towards China and other authoritarian regimes in the world.
To strengthen NATO's eastern borders, the US plans to deploy long-range weapons in Germany. We are talking about SM-6 surface-to-air missile systems, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and hypersonic weapons. European countries are not lagging behind. At the summit in Washington, Greece, Bulgaria, and Romania agreed to create a corridor of military mobility. The agreement will allow military personnel from the bloc's countries to move much faster during missions, bypassing bureaucratic procedures.
Today, my Bulgarian and Romanian counterparts, Mr. Atanas Zaprianov and Mr. Angel Tilvar, respectively, and I signed a letter to intent regarding the establishment of a harmonized military mobility corridor in the margins of the NATO summit in Washington, D.C. Following my proposal, we shall have a trilateral meeting in Alexandroupolis in the fall to discuss the implementation of the intended actions. Nikos Dendias, Minister of National Defense of Greece, in social network X.
NATO member states will have to go beyond the alliance's target of spending 2% of GDP on military needs, says British Defense Secretary John Healey. He is convinced that European countries must take greater responsibility for their own defense capabilities. London believes that the alliance countries should allocate 2.5% of GDP for defense spending. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.